The massive ship appeared without warning, materializing above New York City in a display of technological superiority that sent the world's military forces into high alert. Its sleek, crystalline surface reflected the morning sun, casting prismatic patterns across the city's skyline. Within hours, similar vessels appeared over Beijing, Moscow, and London. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the UN Security Council's emergency session, her weathered face betraying none of the excitement she felt. After 15 years of preparation, humanity's greatest test had finally arrived. The Vanguard, as they call themselves, claimed to be peaceful traders, she announced to the assembled leaders. Their technology is approximately 3 centuries ahead of what we show on the surface, exactly as our deep space monitoring predicted. The council chamber erupted in murmurs. Few outside the highest levels of government knew about humanity's true technological capabilities. While the world's population saw nations squabbling over fossil fuels and arguing about lunar bases, hidden laboratories across the globe had been reverse engineering alien technology from crashed scout ships for decades. The Vanguard's ambassador, a tall, ethereal being named Zolax, addressed the UN General Assembly the next day. Its translucent skin and flowing movements captivated the audience as it spoke of galactic trade routes, cultural exchange, and technological gifts. But Sarah noticed how its inner light pulsed slightly faster when it mentioned accessing Earth's primitive communication networks for compatibility purposes. In the secure bunker beneath Geneva, Dr. Marcus Wong examined the latest quantum scans. "They're broadcasting something through their auxiliary arrays," he reported. "Some kind of psychic interference pattern. If we hadn't developed countermeasures years ago, how many other species fell for their peaceful trader routine?" Sarah wondered aloud, watching the patterns that would have gradually turned humanity into willing slaves. The Vanguard's method was subtle, no violent conquest, just quiet submission through technology designed to make populations docile and dependent. But humanity had learned. The crashed scout ships hadn't been accidents. They were advanced probes designed to test Earth's defenses and begin the subtle conditioning process. Instead, they had given humanity a preview of what was coming in time to prepare. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in caverns that didn't exist on any official map, Sarah stood before the real United Earth Defense Council. Unlike the political theater playing out on the surface, these were the people actually running humanity's response to alien contact. The chamber hummed with quantum computers processing data from sensors hidden throughout the solar system. The Vanguard believe they're following their standard playbook, Sarah explained, gesturing to holographic displays showing the alien ships' positions. First contact, cultural exchange, technological gifts that make us dependent on them, and finally integration into their empire as a client race. They've done this thousands of times across the galaxy. Dr. Wong highlighted several sectors of space on the galactic map. "We've identified at least 30 civilizations they've subjugated this way. Some resist initially, but their technological advantage usually makes submission inevitable." Usually, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Usually, they don't encounter a species that's had decades to prepare specifically for them. Usually, their targets don't have quantum shielding that makes their psychic technology useless. Usually, they don't meet humans. The next phase of the Vanguard's plan came exactly as predicted. They offered to upgrade Earth's communication infrastructure to help integrate humanity into the galactic community. Their engineers requested access to key facilities around the globe. On the surface, governments squabbled about terms and conditions, playing the part of primitive politicians concerned with regional advantages. Meanwhile, humanity's real technology continued to operate invisibly, monitoring every move the Vanguard made. 3 months into the cultural exchange, Xilax made its first mistake. During a private meeting with the UN Secretary General, it mentioned the integration process being on schedule, not realizing that quantum monitoring picked up every word. "They're getting impatient," Sarah reported to the Defense Council. "The conditioning signals aren't working as quickly as they expected. They'll either have to abandon their subtle approach or risk looking weak to their rivals. Dr. Wong's analysis confirmed her suspicions. Their ship movements suggest they're bringing in reinforcements. They're preparing for a more direct approach. Sarah nodded grimly. Good. Let them think they need to save face. Let them think they need to make an example of the primitive humans who didn't submit properly. She turned to face the assembled council members. Because when they do, when they finally show their true nature, every species they've enslaved will see what happens when you try to conquer humanity. The Vanguard's facade of peaceful cooperation lasted exactly 7 months, 2 weeks, and 3 days. When it finally cracked, when their ships began moving into attack positions, humanity was ready. But more importantly, the quantum transmitters hidden in their primitive communication networks were ready, broadcasting everything to every enslaved species across the galaxy. The real war was about to begin, and humanity hadn't spent the last few decades preparing to fight alone. The Vanguard's attack began with an electromagnetic pulse designed to cripple Earth's infrastructure. Their ships descended through the atmosphere, weapons primed, expecting to find a helpless civilization in chaos. Instead, their sensors detected something impossible. Nothing had changed. Every power grid, every communication network, every system continued functioning normally. In her command center beneath the Pacific, Admiral Chen watched the confusion ripple through the alien fleet. Quantum shielding holding steady, reported Lieutenant Maya Patel, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. Their EMP didn't even register on our real systems. The Vanguard's second wave of attacks targeted what they believed to be Earth's military installations, bases, ports, and missile silos that had been carefully maintained as decoys. Their energy weapons carved massive craters into empty bunkers and destroyed obsolete equipment, while humanity's true defensive network remained untouched. Dr. Wong's voice came through the quantum comm, tight with excitement. They're following the exact attack pattern we extracted from their tactical databases. The Vanguard never adapted their strategies because they never needed to, until now. Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. Initiate Operation Echo. Across the globe, hidden quantum generators activated, creating artificial gravity wells that disrupted the Vanguard's anti-gravity systems. Their smaller ships, suddenly unable to maintain altitude, were forced to land or risk crashing. The larger vessels struggled to maintain position, their engines straining against forces they weren't designed to counter. But humanity's real masterstroke wasn't technological, it was psychological. As the Vanguard ships touched down, they found themselves surrounded not by military forces, but by civilians. Millions of people worldwide, all carrying simple signs in their native languages with a single word: welcome. Zilax's voice crackled through the emergency broadcast system, its usual melodic tones sharp with anger. Your primitive defiance is futile. We have conquered thousands of worlds. Your species will submit or face extinction. The response came not from military commanders or political leaders, but from the quantum network that humanity had secretly embedded in the Vanguard's own communication systems. Every ship, every alien soldier, received the same message: videos of Earth's children playing, of families sharing meals, of everyday human life continuing undisturbed despite their devastating attack. Psychological warfare, Dr. Wong explained to the Defense Council, but not how they understand it. The Vanguard's entire empire is built on projecting an image of inevitable victory. When that image cracks, the first signs of confusion appeared among the Vanguard ground forces. Their warriors, used to facing either military resistance or cowering civilians, didn't know how to handle humans who simply went about their daily lives while carrying signs welcoming their would-be conquerors. Meanwhile, humanity's real defense systems were targeting something far more valuable than ships or soldiers. Quantum algorithms infiltrated the Vanguard's networks, not to destroy them, but to access their central database of subjugated worlds. Every moment of their failed invasion was being broadcast across the galaxy. Sarah watched the strategic display as reports came in from their deep space monitoring stations. Movement in the enslaved sectors, Maya reported. Several species are already showing signs of unrest. They're watching Earth, waiting to see if it's possible. The Vanguard's response was predictable. They launched their doomsday weapons, planet-killer missiles designed to make an example of any world that dared resist. The projectiles never reached their targets. They simply disappeared, swallowed by quantum fields that redirected them into parallel space. Now, Sarah commanded, show them what humanity can really do. Across the planet, hidden installations activated. Not weapons, but something the Vanguard had never encountered in all their conquests: healing technology. Quantum fields enveloped their damaged ships, repairing them. Medical nanites deployed to treat their injured warriors. Earth's atmosphere was cleaned of combat pollutants within hours. The message was clear. Humanity could have destroyed them, but chose not to. Zillax demanded an emergency meeting with Earth's leaders, this time in humanity's real command center. The Vanguard ambassador's translucent skin had turned a pale, sickly color. Why? It asked, its voice barely a whisper. Why show mercy when you clearly had the power to destroy us? Sarah stepped forward. Because that's not who we are. Humanity prepared for war not because we wanted to fight, but because we wanted to end the fighting. Your empire is built on fear and dominance. We're offering something different. The quantum networks were still broadcasting, showing not just Earth's resistance, but its response to victory. Healing instead of destruction. Mercy instead of vengeance. Across the galaxy, enslaved species watched and understood. There was another way. The silent rebellion had succeeded not through superior firepower or devastating attacks, but through something the Vanguard had never considered: the power of showing a better path. Humanity had won not by becoming the strongest empire, but by proving that empires themselves were obsolete. As the sun set on the first day of failed invasion, Admiral Chen received reports of uprisings on dozens of worlds. But these weren't violent rebellions. They were populations simply standing up, holding signs, refusing to submit to fear. The Vanguard's greatest weapon had been their aura of invincibility, and humanity had broken it not with bombs or battles, but with hope. The real revolution was just beginning, and it would reshape the galaxy not through conquest, but through courage, compassion, and the simple power of saying no to fear. Deep within the crystalline cities of Proxima, beneath the endless ice sheets that had protected their civilization from detection for millennia, the Meridians received Earth's quantum transmission. Their translucent bodies pulsed with bioluminescent patterns of excitement as they watched humanity's defiance of the Vanguard unfold. They did exactly as you predicted, Ambassador Drake. The Meridian Elder's thoughts rippled through the quantum interface. James Drake, humanity's secret envoy to the hidden species of the galaxy, nodded in acknowledgement. Humanity never planned to fight this battle alone, he responded, watching holographic displays showing similar scenes playing out across dozens of worlds. For 30 years, we've been building the network. The network had begun as a desperate gamble decades ago, when humanity first detected quantum signatures of advanced civilizations hiding from the Vanguard. While Earth's surface continued its careful charade of technological primitivism, explorers like Drake had reached out to these hidden species, forming alliances with those who had chosen concealment over submission. In the command center beneath Geneva, Dr. Wong pulled up a new set of data streams. The Meridian's quantum tech is fully online, he reported. Their ice shields are now linked to our defensive grid. The Andromedon's gravity manipulation systems are synchronized. The Zeta Reticuli biotech network is integrated. Admiral Chen studied the strategic display showing the true extent of the resistance. The Vanguard had believed they dominated the galaxy, never realizing that entire civilizations had escaped their notice, developing technologies in secret, waiting for the right moment to emerge. Status of the Quantum Entanglement Network, Sarah asked, watching as new nodes activated across the galactic map. Maya's fingers danced across her console. 97% of hidden species are now linked. The Vanguard's quantum communications are completely compromised. Every message they send, every order they give, is being intercepted and broadcast across all resistance channels. The network wasn't just a communication system. It was the foundation of a new kind of galactic society. Each species had developed unique technologies and abilities during their centuries of hiding. The Meridians had mastered quantum manipulation. The Andromedans had developed gravity control beyond anything the Vanguard possessed. The Zeta Reticulans had advanced biotechnology to seemingly magical levels. Now, through the quantum networks humanity had helped establish, these technologies were being shared, combined, and enhanced. The Vanguard's greatest weakness was suddenly exposed. Their reliance on dominance had prevented genuine collaboration and innovation. "They're detecting the power signatures," Dr. Wong reported, monitoring the Vanguard's frantic communications. "Hidden cities are revealing themselves across their territory. They don't understand what they're seeing." On thousands of worlds, ancient shields were dropping, revealing civilizations that had existed beneath the Vanguard's notice for generations. But these weren't primitive survivors. They were advanced societies that had chosen to develop in secret, sharing their discoveries through the network, preparing for this moment. Drake's quantum communication reached the command center from Proxima. The Meridians are deploying their phage shields to protected worlds. The Andromedans are neutralizing Vanguard gravity weapons. The Zeta Reticulans are releasing their healing swarms to protected populations. Sarah watched as the galaxies seemed to transform before their eyes. The Vanguard's empire had been built on visible power, fleets, weapons, and the ability to destroy. But true power had been growing in the shadows, in the hidden places they never thought to look, in the connections they never believed possible. Their entire strategic doctrine is based on hierarchical control, Dr. Wong observed. They can't comprehend a decentralized network where species support each other as equals. The Vanguard's response was predictably brutal. They launched simultaneous attacks on every world where hidden civilizations had revealed themselves. But their weapons found only empty space as quantum shields deflected their energy beams. Their gravity weapons were turned back on their own ships by Andromedan controllers. Their biological weapons were transformed into healing agents by Zeta Reticulan swarms. In the Geneva Command Center, Sarah received a priority communication from the Vanguard High Command. Their tone had changed from imperious demand to something approaching panic. "What are you?" they asked. "What have you done?" "We didn't do this alone," Sarah replied. Her voice carried across the network to every listening world. "Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our determination. It's our ability to bring people together, to help them see that cooperation is stronger than dominance." The network continued to expand as more hidden species revealed themselves, each adding their unique capabilities to the collective defense. The Vanguard's empire wasn't being destroyed. It was being rendered irrelevant by a new kind of power they had never imagined possible. Drake's voice came through the quantum link again, tinged with emotion. For millennia, these species lived in fear, believing they were alone in their resistance. Humanity didn't just give them the means to fight back. You gave them the courage to stand together. As the galactic map filled with new signals, new connections, new possibilities, Sarah understood that this was more than a rebellion. It was the birth of a new era, one where strength came not from the ability to dominate, but from the wisdom to collaborate, to share, to grow together. The network had become more than a tool of resistance. It was becoming the foundation of a transformed galaxy, where no species would ever again need to hide their light from those who sought to control them. The Vanguard's capital world of Nexus Prime burned with unprecedented activity. Their entire fleet had been recalled, abandoning centuries-old patrol routes to form a defensive perimeter around their seat of power. In the Grand Assembly Chamber, the High Command watched in growing horror as their empire crumbled not through military defeat, but through simple rejection. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Prometheus, humanity's first true deep space vessel, watching the real-time quantum feeds from across the galaxy. Status of the Liberation Protocol, she asked, her voice steady despite the historic magnitude of the moment. 87% of subjugated worlds have activated their resistance cells, Maya reported. The network is providing real-time support and coordination. The Vanguard's control systems are failing faster than they can respond. The liberation wasn't happening through traditional warfare. On each world, the oppressed populations simply stopped obeying. The Vanguard's automated control systems, their surveillance networks, their punishment protocols, all have been quietly compromised over years through the patient work of the network. Dr. Wang's voice came through the quantum link from his position with the Meridian Science Council. Their entire empire was built on the assumption that technological superiority equals control. They never considered that every system they built could be turned against them. On thousands of worlds, Vanguard control centers found their commands ignored as local populations accessed the hidden quantum networks humanity had helped establish. Their weapons refused to fire. Their ships refused to launch. Their communications spoke truth instead of propaganda. The Andromedans have neutralized their gravity weapons across 3 sectors, James Drake reported from his coordination post. The Zeta Reticulans have transformed their biological control agents into liberation catalysts. The Meridians have quantum-locked their remaining enforcement fleets. But the true power of the rebellion lay not in technological superiority, but in the simple courage of countless beings choosing to stand together. The Vanguard's authority had always depended on isolation, keeping subjugated species separate, preventing them from realizing they were not alone in their desire for freedom. Sarah watched as the quantum network displayed scenes from across the galaxy. On the desert world of Kepler 186f, crystalline beings emerged from their underground havens to reclaim their surface cities. In the gas giants of the Carina Nebula, floating civilizations that had hidden in the storms for generations revealed themselves. Beneath the ice sheets of Europa, ancient aquatic societies rose to join the galactic community. Their entire strategic doctrine is collapsing, Dr. Wang observed. They built their power on the principle that resistance was futile. Now that every act of defiance is broadcast instantly across the galaxy, the Vanguard's response was desperate and predictable. They launched their doomsday weapons, planet-killer missiles aimed at the worlds that dared to reject their authority. But the network had prepared for this too. Meridian quantum fields redirected the weapons into void space. Andromedan gravity manipulation protected vulnerable populations. Zeta Reticulan biofields preserved endangered ecosystems. In the Geneva Command Center, the quantum screens showed a new message being broadcast across all frequencies. It came not from Earth, not from the hidden species, but from within the Vanguard's own ranks. Young Vanguard, born into power, but increasingly uncomfortable with their empire's cruelty, were laying down their weapons. We choose a different path, their message declared. We choose connection over control, growth over dominance, future over fear. The High Command's final transmission reached the Prometheus as their defensive perimeter continued to dissolve. You could have conquered us, they accused. Your network, your hidden allies, you had the power to destroy our civilization completely. That was never the goal, Sarah replied. Her words carried across the quantum network to every corner of the galaxy. Humanity learned long ago that true strength isn't about domination. It's about lifting others up, about helping everyone reach their full potential. The liberation cascaded across space like a wave of light. Each freed world joined the network, adding their unique perspectives and capabilities to the growing galactic community. Ancient knowledge emerged from hiding. New technologies were born from unprecedented collaboration. Art and culture flourished as species that had been separated for millennia shared their stories. Drake's voice held quiet pride as he reported from the Meridian capital. They're calling it the Great Awakening. Not just freedom from the Vanguard, but freedom from fear itself. Freedom to grow, to create, to become something more than survival. On the Prometheus's bridge, Sarah watched the final Vanguard warships power down their weapons. The empire that had dominated the galaxy for thousands of years hadn't been destroyed. It had been transformed by something more powerful than fear. Hope. Send a message to all network nodes, she commanded. The chains are broken, but our real work is just beginning. We have a galaxy to rebuild, not through control, but through cooperation. Not through fear, but through understanding. Not alone, but together. The quantum screens showed celebrations erupting across countless worlds. But more importantly, they showed people of all species beginning to work together, sharing knowledge, solving problems, healing the wounds of millennia of oppression. The age of empires was over. The age of connection had begun. 5 years after the Great Awakening, the galactic landscape had transformed beyond recognition. The crystalline spires of Nexus Prime, once the symbol of vanguard dominance, now housed the galaxy's largest library of shared knowledge. Representatives from thousands of species walked its halls, their footsteps echoing through chambers where oppression had once been planned. Admiral Sarah Chen, now serving as Earth's representative to the Galactic Council, stood at the Grand Observation Deck, watching ships of countless designs moving through the quantum-stabilized space lanes. Each vessel represented a different species, a different technology, a different way of thinking, all working together in a harmony that would have seemed impossible just years ago. The latest statistics from the Integration Commission are remarkable, Dr. Wong reported, his holographic presence floating beside her. Technological advancement has accelerated by an estimated factor of 50 since species began openly sharing knowledge. But more importantly, quality of life has improved across 97% of former Vanguard territory. The network had evolved from a tool of resistance into the foundation of a new galactic society. Quantum links connected distant worlds in real-time conversations. Andromedan gravity manipulation made travel between systems as easy as stepping through a door. Meridian phase technology and Zeta reticulin bioengineering had transformed hostile planets into habitable worlds. But the most profound changes weren't technological. In the Grand Assembly Chamber, Sarah watched species that had once hidden from each other in terror, now engaging in passionate debates about art, philosophy, and the future. Former Vanguard youth worked alongside the children of those their parents had oppressed, building something new from the ashes of empire. "We've identified another hidden civilization," James Drake announced during the Council's morning session. A silicon-based species in the Carina Nebula. They're understandably cautious about revealing themselves. "Send them the standard welcome package," Sarah replied. "Let them watch, learn, and decide for themselves when they're ready to join us. We won't repeat the Vanguard's mistake of forcing anyone's hand." The welcome package contained not just technological offerings, but something more valuable: truth. Complete records of the Great Awakening, the formation of the new galactic society, and most importantly, the continuing struggles and challenges of building a truly cooperative civilization. That's what they never understood, Dr. Wong mused during a quiet moment in the quantum lab. Progress isn't about achieving perfection. It's about being willing to face challenges together, to admit mistakes, to keep trying to do better. The former Vanguard had perhaps undergone the most remarkable transformation. Their young had rejected the ideology of dominance that had defined their species for millennia. Instead, they had become some of the most passionate advocates for cooperation and mutual growth. "We were taught that power came from control," a young Vanguard named Kylax explained to a group of students from across the galaxy. "But true power comes from connection, from understanding, from growing together rather than forcing others to serve." The quantum networks hummed with constant innovation. When one species encountered a problem, thousands of others offered perspectives and solutions. Challenges that had seemed insurmountable to single civilizations were solved through unprecedented collaboration. Diseases were cured, environmental damage was reversed, and new frontiers of science were explored daily. But Sarah's proudest moment came during the 5th anniversary celebration of the Great Awakening. The Grand Plaza of Nexus Prime filled with beings of all forms, crystalline, gaseous, energy-based, biological, and even some that defied traditional classification. They had gathered not to commemorate a military victory, but to celebrate something far more precious: hope. 5 years ago, she addressed the assembled multitude. Her words carried across the quantum network to every corner of known space. We proved that the greatest power in the universe isn't the ability to destroy or dominate. It's the courage to reach out, to trust, to believe in something better. The response came not in words, but in a symphony of communication. Light patterns from crystalline beings, gravitational pulses from energy entities, biochemical signals from organic species, all harmonizing in an expression of unity that transcended traditional language. We face new challenges every day, she continued. We make mistakes. We disagree. We struggle to understand each other. But we face these challenges together, not as rulers and subjects, not as advanced and primitive, but as equals on a journey of discovery. In the quantum archives, records of the old galaxy, of empires and oppression, of fear and hiding, were preserved not as a blueprint, but as a reminder. A reminder that no matter how dark the universe seems, there is always hope. That no power of domination can match the strength of beings choosing to stand together. That the future belongs not to those who can destroy, but to those who can imagine something better. As the celebration continued into the night, Sarah stood with her old friends, Dr. Wong, James Drake, Maya, and representatives from dozens of species that had helped make this new reality possible. They watched the next generation. Human children playing with young Meridians, former Vanguard youth learning art from Andromeda masters, Zeta Reticulan scholars debating philosophy with beings of pure energy. We didn't just break chains, Drake observed softly. We built bridges. The quantum network pulsed with activity, discoveries being shared, problems being solved, connections being forged. The galaxy had awakened not just to freedom, but to possibility. The dawn of this new age hadn't ended with the fall of an empire. It continued every day, with every choice to reach out, to understand, to grow together. The future stretched before them, not as a battlefield to be conquered, but as a frontier to be explored. Together,